Marie Kondo is perhaps most well known for her 2019 Netflix series Tidying Up with Marie Kondo, where she helped people declutter their homes by having them ask whether or not their possessions sparked joy.
Choose items that spark joy for you.
Spark joy.
I am going to figure out what sparks joy in my life.
Luckily, we won't be talking about the show because it was awful, but instead we'll be going back to its roots and understanding the principles from her 2019 book, The Life-Changing Magic of Tidying. Marie is a tidying expert, yes, apparently that's a job, and the creator of the Konmari Method. Now this is a method which, according to her website, is where you keep only those things that speak to the heart and discard any items that no longer spark joy. Thank them for their service and let them go. And people around the world have been drawn to this philosophy, not only because of its effectiveness, but also because it places great importance on being mindful, introspective and forward-looking. So how does one lead to the other? Let's break it down. So firstly, a quick overview of the method itself. Now this is a step-by-step guide which encourages tidying by category rather than by location. You start with clothes, move on to books, papers, miscellaneous items, and then finally finish off with sentimental items. It's for anyone who's stuck in that endless cycle of having to tidy all the time, because no matter what happens, each and every time your space gets messy and cluttered again. Because you see, we're never actually taught how to tidy. It's not something that we tend to work hard at improving through deliberate practice, for example, so we'll never really get any better at it. But Marie says if we put our house in order once and for all properly, then we'll always be able to keep it tidy. The ultimate secret to tidying success is to do it all in one go. None of this little by little approach. This is a one-time solution. And anyone can do it because it's a simple physical act. It really doesn't matter if you're as lazy as I am or not. But you need to aim for perfection. You will never get your house in order if you do it half-heartedly. So none of this I'll throw one item away a day for a year rubbish. That's not going to work. Okay, now onto the why. Did you ever get the urge to clean when under pressure? Like the night before an exam? Did you find that you were unable to study and just started tidying your desk, your books, your drawers? It's not because you suddenly wanted to clean your room, it's because you needed to put something else in order. But this only leaves you feeling temporarily refreshed. You see, when your room is clean and uncluttered, you have no choice but to examine your inner state. Putting your house in order should be done quickly so you can confront the real issues. Tidying is just a tool, it is not the final destination. The true goal is to establish the lifestyle you want most once you put your house in order. Tidying things brings visible results. It can transform spaces and your mind. When you tidy your space completely, you transform the scenery around you. The change is so profound you feel like you're in a totally different world. And this deeply impacts your mind and inspires a strong aversion to returning to your cluttered state. The key is to make the change so sudden that you experience a change of heart. You won't get the same impact if you do it gradually. You also need to have a very efficient and effective way of tidying in order to get through it fast. Otherwise, you'll get tired and want to give up halfway through. At their core, the things we really like don't change over time. So putting your house in order is a great way to discover what they really are. Think back to your old school days and the things you enjoyed doing. Although we get to know ourselves better by sitting down and analysing our characteristics or by listening to other people's perspective on us, Marie believes that the best way is actually through tidying. After all, our possessions very accurately relate the history of the decisions we have made in life. Tidying is a way of taking stock that shows us what we really like. When you boil it down, tidying is just number 1, deciding whether or not to throw something away, and number 2, deciding where to put it if you decide to keep it. So we should choose what we want to keep, not what we want to throw out. Cherish the things you love and that bring you happiness. Imagine living in a space that only brings you joy. Marie doesn't tidy her room because it's already tidy, but her lifestyle brings her joy. She now feels happy and content and has time to enjoy her quiet space. It's clean and fresh. It's actually quite easy to say whether or not something sparks joy. What's difficult is deciding whether or not to discard it. When we really delve into the reasons for why we can't let something go, there are only 2. 1, an attachment to the past, and 2, a fear of the future. The process of facing and selecting our possessions can be quite painful. It forces us to confront our imperfections and inadequacies, and potentially silly choices that we've made in the past. There are 3 approaches we can take towards our possessions. 1, face them now. 2, face them sometime. Or 3, avoid them completely until the day we die. which is probably what I do. The choice is ours. The process in turn helps us identify our values and reduces doubt and confusion in making life decisions. Life becomes so much easier once you know that things will work out even if you're lacking something. When we reduce what we own and essentially detox our house, it has a detox effect on our minds and our bodies as well. When our space is completely clean, we don't have to worry about tidying, so we're free to focus on the next issue that's important in our lives. Letting go is even more important than adding. One of the magical effects of tidying is confidence in your decision-making capacity. By repeating this process hundreds and thousands of times, we naturally hone our decision-making skills. People who lack confidence in their judgment lack confidence in themselves. Marie says that she's come to the conclusion that her passion for tidying was motivated by her desire for recognition from her parents because she was the middle child of 3 siblings, which I can totally relate to. She goes on to say that because I was poor at developing bonds of trust with people, I had an unusually strong attachment to things. I did not have to pretend or hide anything in front of them. It was material things and my house that taught me to appreciate unconditional love first. I still don't have a lot of confidence, and there are times when I am discouraged by my inadequacies. I do, however, have confidence in my environment. When it comes to the things I own, the clothes I wear, the house I live in, the people in my life, when it comes to my environment as a whole, I am confident and extremely grateful to be surrounded by what I love, by things and people that are special, precious, and dear to me. The things and people that bring me joy support me. They give me the confidence that I will be alright. So pour your time and passion into what brings you the most joy, your mission in life. Putting your house in order will help you find the mission that speaks to your heart. And it's best to tidy up quickly and get it over and done with, because remember, tidying is not the purpose of life. Life truly begins after you have put your house in order. Now, that's all great in theory, but what does this look like in practice? I actually first read this book about 6 years ago, give or take a couple of years because my memory is awful, and I can genuinely say that it changed my life. It's also the book that I recommend the most to people, no matter what kind of books they're into and even if they don't read. So this has actually made such an impact on my mindset and really set me on the path that I'm on today. Just to be clear, I love organising and tidying things anyway, I always have, and that's the reason I picked up the book in the first place. I'd related to Marie's background and her love of tidying, so no big surprises there. But I was not expecting the wider impact it had. And I don't believe you need to love tidying for it to have this impact on you. Once I totally devoured the book in one sitting, I went straight into tidying mode and had this ginormous declutter. I got rid of so many things that I was holding on to for no reason. Before I read the book, I didn't think I was actually much of a hoarder, but boy was I wrong. And it turns out that my family, ultra hoarders. I had uni notes I didn't need, I had clothes I'd never worn with tags still on, and I had books that I'd never read because I didn't want to. All went, and my gosh did I feel so much lighter after it. It was like a burden had been lifted off my shoulders. It was so freeing. I no longer felt guilty every time I wore the same small selection of clothes because I had no others. I no longer felt guilty that I had this huge list of books to read because they were no longer on my shelf or on my to-do list. And I didn't have folders of uni notes taking up space on my bookshelf for no reason, reminding me of how much I really didn't like some of the stuff I learned. And that was just the immediate effect. The longer term effect was even better. I was fully aware of all the stuff I owned, especially clothes, and I could see everything in one place. I got to learn a cool new folding technique that I use still to this day. And I had this joy of enjoying the space I was in because I could clearly see everything I loved. Little things like picking out items and not having the entire pile of stuff fall over or on me, or knowing exactly where everything was, or just knowing exactly what I owned. I also started really questioning myself before I bought things to ensure that I really wanted or needed them, rather than it just being an impulse buy. This then set me off on my own mini minimalism journey, and while I'm no Matt Diavella, I'm so much more conscious of the things that I own and their purpose. I also let go of the buy cheap mentality for the most part, because I would much rather have something that I love using and gain value from and pay extra for it than buy cheap and regret it. These are principles and lessons that I still apply in my everyday life even today, and I have no intention of stopping. All in all, this was a truly life-changing book for me, and one that I highly recommend that everybody read and implement because you won't regret it. So thank you to this book for serving me and all the people I lent it to so well. Thanks guys, I'll see you in the next one.